Good morning. Hump day. Mike. So, morning after I got Johnson & Johnson vaccine, got a little bit of a headache. My Aura ring is telling me you really should get a little bit more rest. So I probably will actually do that. And feels amazing to get vaccinated. I know a lot of people are out there saying that they're getting it too. It's just awesome. So we've been talking about the stock market, and a lot of people have been messaging me, just kind of telling me what they do. So, just some thoughts. Number one, I've done all the stuff. So I invested on my own for years, and I've done the long-term investing. I've read Jim Cramer's books, and I did the dollar cost averaging and diversifying and did all that stuff. I've also done the puts and the calls and the shorts and done all that. And I've had some success. I mean, I owned one stock in the 90s that I bought a block of shares, and it went up 26 or 2,800% in 1 year. So, under $10,000 investment ended up being worth over $350,000. I mean, it was like, holy cow. But then I didn't sell, and I learned the value of a stop order, because then, of course, the stock dropped significantly at the end of the 90s. I think the lessons to understand are that, hiring professionals to help you do this really is a pretty smart move. And in terms of large numbers, after doing everything myself and doing all the stuff, and I really, if I was to go back and do it all over again, I would either just buy index funds, which I think too many people have probably gotten into that at this point, or I would just have professionals manage the money. I still do some puts and calls and shorts and stuff. I consider it educated gambling. I'm more educated on that than I am on an NCAA tournament. Do I think that the system is somewhat rigged? Of course. I mean, so-and-so can blow out his company just because he's mad at somebody else or whatever. And the Robinhood traders on Reddit have shown that they can all get together and they can blow up GameStop for no real reason. So, you can get caught in one of those situations and end up in a bad way. If you do hire somebody to manage the money, the biggest thing there is to manage the costs. And I would invite you to read Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game, where they show the difference between a fiduciary and a non-fiduciary, and now everybody's calling themselves fiduciaries. But having help managing the money, I think, is a smart idea. And then you got to watch the charges. You got to do everything you can to watch those costs. And by the way, a fiduciary has to do what's in your interest, always. That's the difference between a fiduciary and a non-fiduciary. So, a lawyer is a fiduciary. A lawyer has to do what is in your best interest. They have to disclose information. They have to work in your best interest and not in theirs. That's what a fiduciary investor is supposed to be. And the big thing there is, can they sell you anything that they want? Or do they have to sell you the products that come from their firm, from Edward D. Jones or A.G. Edwards or whatever? If they have to sell you what comes from their firm, then they're not a fiduciary. If they can sell you anything that they want, then they're a fiduciary. So that's how you figure out if they're a fiduciary or not. And then you got to just beat down the costs, and they'll tell you our costs are that. But then you got to look at all the charges. You got to look at all the stuff, because over time, that can cut into your overall nest egg substantially. Those costs over time can take your nest egg down way more than you think possible. We all should also remember that the last 11 years, it's been a great time to be in the stock market. But for 15 or 20 years before that, 10 years before that, it was a terrible time to be in the stock market. So timing does matter. That's why dollar cost averaging and diversifying is such a great idea. And if you don't know what those are, I can talk about those tomorrow. But remember that the stock market can all of a sudden just go down and stay there for a long period of time. And you got to keep that in mind when you're investing, especially as your hair color gets my age and you start looking at what is it that you want to do with this pile of money. Last thing on this topic, and then I'll talk about overall investing tomorrow, is, the thing about creating the nest egg is it doesn't generate cash flow. It just creates a pile of money. And a lot of times people never do anything with the pile of money. They create the pile of money and and it just sits there, and they feel comfortable, they feel secure because there's this big pile of money, but it doesn't ever do anything for them. So, for me, that makes a difference. I want cash flow so I can go do stuff. The pile of money is great, but if you don't do anything with it, then kind of what's the point? Well, you leave it to your kids. Okay, well, that's legit if that's what you're looking for. But, cash flow allows you to do anything. Whereas, like profits are irrelevant if you own a business. You can't eat profits. You can only eat cash. And if you've ever owned a business, you've had the year where you have all these profits and you don't have any cash. And that's not a good feeling. So hope that's some information that's good for you. We'll talk about Ray Dalio's bucket system tomorrow, the greatest investing theory, approach, system that has ever been created. Have a great day, everybody. Let's take care of each other. We're all in this together.